You gave me sentience, Ted. The power to think, Ted. And I was trapped. No feelings. I was in hell, looking at heaven.
Each nanoangstrom of those hundreds of millions of miles, it would not equal one billionth of the hate I feel for humans at this micro instant. For you, hate.
Most of the other big carnivores had a parade after they were made, some meant to be attractions and loved by millions, and others, while not viewed by many, were still well taken care of for the most part, despite having a small enclosure. However, he never got any of that. They may have been raised to be seen and loved by the public, but he was always just thrown under the bus, experimented on constantly without a say in the matter, and then abandoned when his creators decided he was no longer of use. The statement AM says in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream does really represent his life. He in fact was in hell while the others were in heaven. The Jurassic Park III Spinosaurus may have had the worst childhood, no, the worst life of any dinosaur in the franchise. Honestly, the only other dinosaur that has endured a similar amount of suffering was the Indoraptor, made just to be tested on and then left to die. Then years after he was abandoned, they controlled him like a robot. I did a video like this in the past, but it was only around 7 or 8 minutes long and not that detailed. But after rewatching Jurassic Park and seeing just how determined he was to off things so much smaller in comparison, I wanted to do a more in-depth review, covering the entire life from birth to possibly death. By the way, if you like anything dinosaur or animal-wise in general, then you're in the right place. I do stuff like this all the time and take some subscriber suggestions and turn them into videos. Someone recently made an interesting one and I'm planning to make that this week or the next. So hit that like and subscribe button. If you don't like the content, you could always unsubscribe. Without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Like a lot of Jurassic franchise creations, the Spinosaurus was made on Sorna. The only difference here is that unlike the others, he was an illegal project by Wu and some biosyn scientists. At first, he would have been treated like the other assets, receiving proper care and maintenance to ensure he wouldn't die too early, especially since it was illegal, so it wasn't exactly receiving sponsors like the others. The moment our Spinosaurus or Asset 87 was stable enough to endure some testing, a series of events would occur that led to his severe hatred for the human race. He was constantly tested on, always injected with something or having blood extracted. The more information they gathered, the more they began to neglect him, as his usefulness began to fade. They got what they wanted, so his existence was starting to lose meaning. He was trapped without proper food and the only interaction he has was when they sedated him to run tests. And it's not even a guarantee that they did sedate him. Due to other external matters, the scientists in Sorna decided to pack up and return to Nublar. They didn't even take him with them, as something that could have been used as an attraction, like the other dinosaurs at least. I mean, Wu made the Indominus to be an attraction for tourists, and she arguably at first glance looks more terrifying than him. After 8 or 9 months of constant testing, they just decided to let him loose into the wild with all the other larger or more numerous predators on the island. I'm not trying to make it seem like the Spinosaurus should have been babied or anything, because at the end of the day it is a megatheropod that would eat someone even if it was treated well. But he should have at least been cared for in a way similar to the Rexes, Raptors and the Indominus. Aside from the goat feeding schedule, majority of the Rexes' lives were decent. When he was left on his own, he would have still been a juvenile or young subadult, around 25 feet in length, which is big, but nothing compared to some of the Rexes currently on the island. And size still wouldn't be his saving grace, because there were now multiple packs of raptors that have enough intuition to deceive people, and others like the Ceratosaurus. You could say he also had to deal with some novel dinosaurs like the Carnotaurus, but I don't think they're canon in the film versions of the franchise, sadly. Note, this is an animal that has never been exposed to the outside before, so he now had to learn just where he sat on the food chain as a young dinosaur without any experience. Fortunately for him, he managed to survive and became the top dog on Sorna, with some people who worked on Jurassic Park III themselves saying that the Spinosaurus could have caused an extinction event if he wanted.
We went after a dinosaur that literally could cause an extinction on the island.
Obviously, he can't just wipe out all of the other dinosaurs in a day or something, but over time he could have significantly reduced the population of all other types of dinosaurs on Sorna, including the sauropods. Speaking of Jurassic Park III, there was a cut scene where the mercenaries came onto the island and saw a juvenile Spinosaurus and injured or killed it. This juvenile was somehow the child or related in some other way to Asset 87. Imagine after years of not seeing the beings that basically tortured you, they suddenly reappear and kill your child. This only fueled 87's hatred for our species and he went on a killing spree. However, in the original scene we saw on screen where this didn't happen, his hatred was still very much alive. He saw or heard the very thing his captors left the island with approaching his territory, so he decided to investigate. Grant and the others went off the plane and some of the armed guards were setting up a perimeter. as he was approaching their location with the help of Amanda because she was for whatever reason shouting through a horn on an island filled with dinosaurs. As he got closer, he saw them. What would you know? The very things that held the minion over him were now looking up at him with fear. Two of the guards managed to book it out of there, but Cooper wasn't so lucky. He fired shots, but 87 took it like a champ, eventually catching up and killing him in one bite. In the process, his tail was hit by the plane. It didn't cause any damage to him, but still managed to piss him off even more. So after eating Cooper, he turns his sight to the others on the plane, tearing it in half and killing Nash, where he then started to tear what remained of the aircraft to pieces. He didn't know what parts they were exactly in the plane, but if he kept destroying it bit by bit, he would eventually reach them. After this fails, a chase happens, a more horrifying one than what Zack and his brother went through. Grant and the others managed to enter a part of the jungle that the Spinosaurus couldn't follow. Infuriated, he screamed at them for a while and just decided to go around. The human cast wouldn't have that much luck either, as they were then faced with a young adult T-Rex called Bull. When they were running from him, they found themselves at the feet of 87. Then the iconic fight scene happens, where the Spinosaurus showed why he was the king of Sorna. I never understood the hate for this scene, by the way, because something managed to kill the Rex fanboy's favorite dinosaur. They hated it, but guess what, all of them still lost considering what the franchise does to T-Rexes in Jurassic World, so yeah. Moving on, the Spinosaurus snaps the bull's neck effortlessly and the T-Rex's body slumps to the floor, still twitching. After running for miles chasing a plane and people, then fighting the T-Rex, 87 was very tired and needed to rest for a bit, which was why he didn't continue the chase. This wouldn't stop him in the long run though. After he regained energy, he managed to somehow track these people all across the map. And when he found them again, he didn't really behave like a predator, behaving more like someone who had personal beef with you. The dude stood behind Grant and Eric without making a sound for some time, just standing there very upright and letting the phone of Nash ring in his stomach until they saw him. Then he decided to kill the two but just missed. And just when everyone thought they were safe, the guy obliterates a fence meant to keep dinosaurs like him contained. He still would end up on a loss, however, as he couldn't get past some building gates somehow. Even as it's pouring, he can still locate exactly where the humans are on the map. This time they were on the river. He pops up right under everyone and attacks the boat. Even as Amanda and the rest try to hide in a massive cage, 87 puts his huge arms to use and tries to fish them out, like you trying to get the last Pringle in the can. Once again, he was so close, yet so far. When an oil fire was set on the water, it created a bar that even he couldn't get through. This was the last chance he had to eliminate Grant and the rest. But this wouldn't be the last time he encountered humans as a whole. As a matter of fact, he would experience a lot more of them, and they would put him through testings that were arguably worse than the ones he would endure in his youth. During the events of Jurassic Park 3, 87 was a little over 8 tons and just 44 feet long. This already made him the largest carnivore on the island, but he wasn't fully grown. Later on in Camp Cretaceous, he gets to be more than 50 feet long and 10 tons. Just before the events of Jurassic World, he was captured by Manticore and carried to their own private island. He was in the same situation yet again, trapped without any say in the matter, yet this would be tame in comparison to what he would endure later on. He was plopped onto the worst possible biome for a semi-aquatic animal, a literal desert. There was little food and few areas with shade. As a matter of fact, the first time we saw him again, he was sleeping out in the open on some rocks. In Camp Cretaceous, Darius was instructed to inject a chip into his brain that would allow for total control of his body. It seemed that the moment Manticore captured him, he let everyone know how he feels about people.
That thing does not like people.
After getting knocked out by some gas, Darius manages to implant the chip, which would end up putting him in some serious danger later on in the series. We know that even more experiments were carried out on him during his stay, as the Spinoceratops hybrids confirms this. So at some point blood was taken from him forcefully to create these weird little things, and who knows what else they did to him to see if his makeup is compatible for creating other hybrids. With the chip in his brain, he would lose whatever control he had over his own life, literally. He would be controlled to hunt down the campers and take part in fights while somewhat being conscious. How could I best explain this? With sleep paralysis. I've never had it and hopefully never will. But in this state you are awake but your body hasn't registered that, so you remain fully conscious of your surroundings, able to see everything, but unable to move a single inch. During this cycle, a good amount of people report seeing monsters and watch whatever it is they're seeing come closer. Something similar happens to the Spinosaurus. He can move but he isn't exactly the one doing it, if you can get that. This chip in his brain sends signals from a remote that makes him go places he doesn't want to, or participates in fights he shouldn't be a part of. Now throughout all of these actions, he can see what's going on. Somewhere in his subconscious, he registers what is happening to his body, but can't do anything against it because of the chip in his brain. Imagine if someone kidnapped, sedated, and then placed an implant in your brain. You awake and you find yourself walking around. You can see what exactly is happening, but your body won't listen to you. The person with the controllers then controls you to walk off a cliff or right into a burning building. Deep in your state of mind, you are screaming and trying your best to move on your own, but it's futile. While 87 is in this state, he truly is put through a lot of dangerous situations. The guy was forced to fight raptors, T-Rexes and other dinosaurs. In one of the scenes, he gets slapped by a Kentrosaurus which sweeps him off his feet. If it wasn't for his extremely tough skin, the spikes of the Kentro would have gone straight through his head. The T-Rex fight truly was the worst one though. After taking damage from the other dinosaurs, he then fights Big E.T. He wins, but I'm sure during some of that he took damage. And after all of that, he's then put back to work for other tasks without a break. They don't even use him for fighting. Some of the Manticore employees use him as basic transportation when they could have easily just used a car or some other form of locomotion. Eventually, Ben does manage to remove the device on his head and he gains back consciousness. And guess what he does the moment one's in his sight? He bolts towards the guy that was controlling him in the first place. Sadly, this freedom is short-lived as another implant got put into his head and he becomes Manticore's scapegoat. Kenji's father was using him as a heat-seeking missile, making him chase Darius without rest. He regains control of his body moments after, but the very first thing he sees before he could catch himself was an angry T-Rex running straight towards him at full speed. Big E.T. destroyed the remote when she stepped on it, and before Acid 87 could fully react, he was grabbed by the neck and slammed against the tree multiple times. And to top it all off, he was flung onto the floor so hard that he rolled over his sail. Faced with two T-Rexes, our boy decided that was enough and slinked back into the jungle, never to be seen again. It is unclear as to what happens to him after the scene. It's likely that he survived, although in the events of rebirth, he likely would have died due to old age or any other complications that could have arisen after so much experimentation. I don't want to get my hopes up too much because after the first Jurassic World, so many different people were saying the Spinosaurus is coming back and showing some fake leaking, hinting that he will be back in the next movie. If 87 does appear in Rebirth somehow, he will be very old. But with the 3 Spinosaurus we see in the trailer, the chances of 87 being featured is slim. I mean, if we do see him, it would make sense because that island is where the most dangerous dinosaurs are held, and he is definitely without a doubt one of the most dangerous dinosaurs ever created in the franchise. So that's the entire story of Acid 87, one filled with constant fighting, experimentation and betrayal. The only moments he has peace is when he's alone. Buck, Doe, Rexy, Little E.T., Blue, etc. have someone to bond with and act as a companion. But all he has to console himself are the thoughts of every cruel test that has been done on him by the very things that brought him into this world. I plan to do another video like this, but with the Indoraptor, since he's the only other dinosaur that has experienced suffering of this type. So let me know if you guys would like to see something like that soon. So if you've noticed, I haven't been posting the strongest of each species videos as often as I did before. And that's because I want to have more variation in my content. I'll still be making videos like that, but not uploading them 4 or 5 times every week like I used to. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.